Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Play the Tape. I am your host, Derek J. Fields. Full disclaimer, we are not licensed or trained professionals when it comes to social work, drug and alcohol counseling. This is not therapy. This is not counseling. What Play the Tape is a platform of community support and advocacy for those who suffer from mental health challenges and substance use, and we promote an atmosphere of recovery. And what that means is positive change moving forward. Listen, thank you for allowing us to come into your home, your car, or wherever you may be listening today. This is season 2, and it's going to be a little bit different. Yay, season 2. I don't have no effects yet, but hopefully that'll be something moving forward. Like I said in season 1, there are going to be changes. There are going to be recovery moving forward in a positive direction with different types of guests. So I always have that disclaimer that we are not licensed trained professionals. This is not therapy or counseling, but I will have those type of people on my show. But today's episode is geared in another direction. And as hopefully I specified in season 1, that we will also have people of like mothers, fathers, cousins, nephews, family members who themselves are impacted, and their experiences of living with and having to deal with people of mental health and substance use. And today I have a wonderful guest, someone that I love and admire, someone who's coming up here today to tell about their impact as a mother with a child who has mental health challenges. So without further ado, Bianca. I gotta edit that. Okay. Without further ado, and I will edit that. B, I am so blessed and honored to have you here today on the show. So the floor is yours, wherever you want to start.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you having me here. I'm very honored that you asked me to be on your platform, and I want to start off saying I am so proud of you, and I absolutely love you, and I love everything that you're doing. So this is awesome, awesome, awesome.
I love you too.
Um, Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, let's see, where do I begin? Okay, let's see. I think it's like maybe 2 years or going on um 2 years. We started experiencing episodes of our son um, having some mental health issues. And it was very shocking because it went from just everything being the same, not seeing anything happening to bam, it just, for us, just came about. And we're like, what's going on? It of course, it definitely, it's new to us, but it was just something so unexpected. And it took us a while to try to grasp what was taking place because it started off with like um, anger, like outburst. And, of course, teenagers, they get angry sometimes and things like that. So at first I thought that was just, an aspect of growing up and different changes as they get older and stuff or whatever they're going through at that moment.
Hmm.
But then it became something totally different. It started to escalate, and it's like, wait, it's like you can tell there were voices
Hmm.
that was talking to him, and it was like weird subject matters that was coming out of his mouth. And I was like, what are you talking about? And we started noticing forms of paranoia, looking out windows, checking the vents. And it's like, wait, well, trying to understand and asking questions, but really not getting any clarity on what was going on. So then it started, then hallucinations started to take effect. So we're like, is it drugs? Is it what's what's going on? Didn't want to go that route, but at that time we didn't
You have to
know
ask
what was
questions.
going on.
Right. You're trying to cover your
Right,
bases. Right.
exactly. So we're like, okay, he's been home for a moment. So what's going on? Afraid to leave the house and all that. And then it was still confusing, but I was like, I didn't know, we as a family really didn't know what to do. So we just tried to talk with them, you know, ask questions, find stuff out, but he still wasn't really revealing. It was like he could not make that connection on really answering our questions. He was just so stuck on what was in his head. And it was several sleepless nights. If I got an hour, that was a lot. Um, he was sleeping like he wanted to be by me, so he would sleep down here by me. My husband would be in another, like the living room area and
Hmm.
everything, just so, I guess we felt like maybe this was a safe place for him, a comfort zone. So, we allowed that to happen. But it just started progressively getting worse. And normally I don't want to, maybe weak is the wrong word to use, but right now I'm at a lack of words. But I was feeling a little weak and scared and not knowing what to do because I'm sitting here constantly looking at my child going through this like all day, all night, middle of the night, not sleeping, getting up, starting to paranoia, and just talking to stuff that wasn't there. So I'm like, okay, this must be the devil trying to intervene, playing tricks on his mind, and I'm trying to let him know that, but it just seemed like it was something else too,
Hmm. Hmm.
to the point where um, his brother stayed off from work for a whole month to be a good support system for him. And there were times when he was okay, every little moment, there was a little look like a light that was happening. Like, okay, maybe he's coming out of it. But then no, it'll last for just maybe a minute or two. Then maybe sometimes five, maybe sometime even an hour. If we just kept talking to him, then he would start to open up with some conversation because he really enjoys drawing. So
What
he would
what
draw.
what
Mhm.
what what kind of conversations in that minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or to an hour of light or hope that you saw? Do you remember what those conversations were to spark little bit of clarity, that little bit of light? Was there specific conversations that y'all had with him that would inspire that little bit of light? Do you remember any of them, or was it
So
certain things that y'all would say, or interests that y'all would be like, "Hey, what you got going over? What you got going on over there? What I want to know what that is. I'm interested." So,
um, it kind of centered around if he had the iPad and he was drawing, and we would talk about it, and he would be able to just shell out artwork. It would look like maybe 50 images within a short amount of time. So we're like, okay, let us see. We can't believe you drew all of that. So that was somewhat of a distraction that was we thought that was helping
hmm.
at that time. But as soon as you know, the positivity came into play, a negative aspect happened like right after. It didn't last for very long. And we're trying, and it, we have, you know, more than one, of course I say his brother, but we have more kids and things like that. So we're trying to split our time to make sure that we're being there for him, but we got to make sure that other kids and stuff are taken care of. But, we're a close knit family, so we're going to work around it, try to make it work. But it came to a point where the drawing stopped, everything stopped, but the voices increased. the speaking out to the voices, the zoning out, where it got to the point where he wasn't hearing us. He was only hearing those voices. And then the behavior started to change. And I was really, that part kind of scared me. Not that I was scared of my child, I was scared for what was happening to him. I'm like, is he going to be able to snap out of this? How long is this going to last? And there was talk of, wanting to take his own life. And of course, as a mother, you don't want to hear that, as anybody in your family, you truly love your family member. You don't want to hear that. And it became scary. And sometimes would lock himself in the bathroom and just say things. And I try to talk to him. And at some point, normally I have not a mean voice. I don't have a harsh voice, but I'm kind of some confident speaking. I try to
Assertive.
keep a certain
Assertive.
tone. Yeah,
Right. Right.
assertive, exactly.
Assertive. Mm-hmm.
But when I had that quivering sound in my voice and that shaky sound, he was like, "You're fake." So he picked up on that. But I did not know how else to react because it was new and it was like, oh my God. I was literally shaking a lot when I was just speaking. And I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't help that. But I do thank God for his brother because, there's a different connection. And his brother would be able to talk with him more and to get him to settle down a little bit more. So I was like, okay, well, that's a good thing. His dad would do it too, but it was just something about that brotherly connection because they've always been really close. So that was good. So we were going through that and we thought everything was okay. But then he ended up where he was like, I can't take this anymore. And to the point where he was like, going hours, go all days and nights without sleeping. And that's what made like the voices and stuff get worse. And he's like, I can't do this anymore. So he actually asked for help. But there
Okay.
were things that I couldn't do because of his age. So he had to make those decisions and things like that. And he went to a mental health facility. I do not feel like they helped him at all. But he got back and he was like, I'm going to try to fight this on my own. Didn't want to do medication, didn't want to do therapy, nothing. I tried to be, I'm not a therapist, but I tried to talk to him. And as he's going through these things and he finally started sleeping in his own room, I was like, okay, that's a positive sign. Um, but there were nights where, again, I wouldn't sleep because I'm trying to do my research. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to come up with, see if meal plans would work. I'm coming thinking about prayer sessions, and I tried to play some YouTube videos for him that you know pastors preaching or just someone saying some a positive message, things like that. And I thought I was like, okay, he's he's responding to this, but he wouldn't do my whole plan. He said, I promise you, Mom, I'm going to work with you. I'm like, okay. So I'm still creating, looking at videos, doing this, doing that. But he wouldn't work with me. But I didn't lose hope on that, and I would just pray
Right.
all the time. So we went out a little bit longer. We ended up having a death in the family, and it kind of triggered something again. It started all over again, but I knew this time my approach had to be different. I could not be the person that was having that shaky sound. I couldn't be that person that seemed like I was completely scared, even though at times I was, but I didn't want to show it to him. If I came back after the room and then I just cried and I said crying is my cleansing method.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to do that, that's what I had to do. And it would be where um, we would have things that happen in the middle of the night. Would get up and fussing and fighting and cussing towards whatever was in his head, and we're trying to let him know this is not real. It's not happening. It's just the people are not here, but he was not believing us. It was so the forces were so powerful that it took forever. I'm trying to play Christian videos, and it's hard because we have a lot of pets, so the dogs are barking. So it's
Hmm.
the house and everything is somewhat chaotic. So he couldn't find that peace amongst this chaos until it got to the point where he just wore himself out, and then he would get some kind of rest, a little bit of rest. It was to the point where sometimes he would run out the house. Didn't matter what time. It's like we had to be on alert all the time. It got to the point where I was willing to sit and sleep if I could sleep at the door. It's like I was having front door, daddy had back door, brother was
Hmm.
upstairs. Um, but it was such a sad situation that we cried so much. We didn't want him to see us crying, but we cried because it was heartbreaking and still not having answers to what's going on with our child. Where did this come from? What caused this to happen? Um, it wasn't that long ago that we learned about different aspects and things that happened in his life that we think that had contributed to this path.
Was it
And as a
trauma?
mom,
Was
yes,
it some type of trauma? Okay.
yes,
Okay.
it was some type of trauma.
Okay.
And it's like, how did I not see it? What it what did I do? How did I lack as a parent? And that guilt came over me. And it's like I should have known, I should have seen, I should be doing something, but I really didn't even know what to do. I I I felt horrible inside because I was like, I felt like I let my child down. I didn't intervene. I didn't stop, but I didn't know. Of course, if I did, I definitely would have jumped in. But in his head, he felt like the voices had told us. And we're trying to let him know, no, it didn't. We didn't know anything. But he kept having the thing of blaming us for certain aspects. And, I dealt with it, and I'm just letting them know, keep letting them know we didn't know, we didn't know. But no matter what, we're going to help you through this. But it was still a difficult thing. It would still be in the middle of the night, jumping up, running out the house, not knowing where he was going, to the point where we were scared for his life because
As a
he's going to people's houses, knocking on the houses. He's not in his right frame of mind. And he's not a bad person, was never a bad person. You know, all our children have very good hearts. They're helpful, they're loving, they're caring. But whatever was happening with him, he was like he was fighting. He was fighting, trying to be that good person. But whatever was going on would take over and he would completely change until, like I said, he exhausted himself and then he would snap out of it.
I know you had mentioned because my daughter will be 20. Well, sorry, my daughter is 20. She'll be 21 in December. And uh, audience members, ladies and gentlemen, when your children reach when they reach 18, you can't force them into treatment. They're adults. That's what B was explaining earlier, where when she was talking about her son couldn't, he had to make that choice. Um, that's very hard to, as a parent, sit by and you have to be okay with your child making a choice of, okay, I might go to treatment or I might not, and I might not want to go back for a period of time. Was there any conversations about treatment moving forward after that last stint that he had that didn't work? Was that, because I'm a firm believer in prayer myself. Prayer changes things. I'm with you. At the same time, God gives us different avenues and different people to connect with to bless us in that regard. So was there ever a time where y'all sat down as a family and was like, hey, Would you want to try treatment again? I've looked into some other options. I've looked into some other places. Was that ever considered again?
It was only considered when it was forced
Okay.
to the fact where, because before we knew he was very adamant about not going back. So we were just trying that at home, and it was a different place that was going to take over with therapy. Even didn't have to go in, video call, wouldn't come to the phone, wouldn't do anything. So we had to let it go, but it had to be forced again because the behavior had gotten out of place, and the psychosis took over to where he became a different person again. So we had to call somebody. And we had looked into just on our own other places, but every time there was never a bed available
Mm-hmm.
because we just kept thinking we had to be prepared. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to go right back to that horrible place. And he'll sign the release for me to talk and everything, but I would call constantly. No one would ever return my phone calls. It was just like being a hamster in the wheel, just running around, and not going anywhere until and it, later on, it got to the point where he was so good where he would try to control the voices at the location. So they weren't supposedly weren't seeing everything that we were seeing.
Got you.
How
Yeah.
I don't know how, but he even admit that he would try to control and would not let them see him do certain things. So of course he got released again. Behavior was, a little better. He still was going through the voices and talking, and I'm like, you got to stop responding. And because I was looking at videos, and they're like, if you stop responding, that would help them to maybe not completely go away, but diminish a whole lot. So we keep saying it, but it's like he doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if that's an escape for him to talk to that because he doesn't really leave the house. He thinks people are after him. He thinks people are going to harm us if we leave, and we're like, we're okay. We're trusting God. We need you to trust in God, and God's going to take care of everything. So we're always preaching, and it's gotten to a point too where I would have certain videos, and I'm like, this applies to you. You need to listen to this. I would send videos. I would play certain things, and now it's where our whole family knows this video because it was, I think it's, I may not be having the name exactly, but I think it's called Tragedy, um, Triggers, and Triumph. And I thought that message fit so perfectly. I would start at a certain point that fits our situation,
Mm-hmm.
and I would play it, and it would be calming if there was an outburst. Um, so that helps. I can see him trying. I can see him forcing, but he will not do therapy, no matter how much we may say it. We'll try to back away. Don't want to get on about the medication. We have talked to him about it. He's very adamant. He does not want to be on medication. And I know everybody can't handle. He did. They did give it to him like the first time. He
Mm-hmm.
said it did not like the way it made him feel,
I
and it
understand that. I understand that. I've
gained
been
a
there.
lot of weight. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can get that. I
I get that.
understand, but I'm like,
Yeah.
if we can do therapy, because you need to be able to talk to someone about what happened to you. I can talk to you, I can say certain things. I'm not licensed, but there's still that mother aspect, and he needs that sort of separation for him to release that to someone who is a professional. I'm like, you need someone that's able to help you to go through this and to go through the mood swings and how to be able to handle difficult situations in life. I can guide you to a certain point. And I said, you got to start talking to God too. And when stuff becomes so much for you, you got to tell God. I can't do this by myself. Yes, He's with you all the time, but God is waiting for you to really
Mhm.
come to Him. I can pray and intervene on your behalf to a certain point, but you've got to fully go to Him. And He was trying. But then another episode happened that was so bad that, again, we had to call somebody. Third time was like, do not send him there. Do not send him to that location. They say that's the only place that has a bed. Went back again. Same thing happened over and over again of me calling, of no one responding, doctors not calling, nothing till he came home. We had to ultimately change our locks on our door for his protection. And yes, he was kind of mad. And I was trying to tell him, hey, we needed new locks anyway, but we had to choose the ones with the key. And I told him, as a parent, sometimes you have to make certain decisions. And I know you may not agree with the decisions that we made. And I said, no one is trying to lock you in. But sweetheart, if it comes to your life being saved, this is what we have to do. Nobody's saying they won't open the door for you or let you get some fresh air. Nobody's saying any of that. But that running out in the middle of the night, banging on people's doors because you think that there's somebody else, that's not safe for you. It's not safe for your dad and your brother to have to run out there. Because the last time it happened, his brother was so scared that the guy was going to fight him. This guy was bigger than my son. My son is over 6 feet tall. This guy was bigger than him. And his son came and he was like, Dad, if you hear what he's saying, something is going on. Something's not right because none of it made any sense. So the son somewhat calmed him down. But we can't have that happening.
Right.
And then he understood. We take things step by step. You know, let him go for some walks. Clear his head and things like that. Um, and the things we have seen some changes. Every now and then it's a little thing here, a little thing there. But I noticed that now he's reading Bible scriptures. Um, he'll listen to like the scriptures being read to him. He'll have his iPad by him. I've seen him, at times he doesn't want to do his music. Sometimes he does. Um, but no matter what he does, the negative voices try to tell him something bad about something positive that he's trying to do. And I try to tell him, I said, the words for me, and I think you need to apply this, is in spite of. I said, I know it's hard. I'm not going through what you're going through. I don't know it all, but I'm there for you and I'm letting you know you need to do it in spite of. That's
Hmm.
the best way to have your
Hmm.
victory and accomplish things when those voices are telling you that you can't. You prove that you can. I'm not saying you respond to it, but we got to try to train your mind. Like I said, I'm just talking. I don't know if everything that I am saying is accurate or the right thing to do, but that's all I know and that's all I can go by.
Right. Respond in a positive. If you choose to respond, and we're not saying that you have to, but if you choose to respond, you respond in I can, in spite of,
Hmm.
in faith
Exactly.
of. Yeah, I like that.
Ex-
Absolutely.
Exactly. And then sometimes his brother get on me and he's like, "Well, Mama, you shouldn't talk like that." And not the prayer or the in spite
Hmm.
of things, but
Right.
like if he seems like he's starting to get an outburst, I try to talk to him, but my voice is not like that. Really, really timid sound because, like I said, he told me I was being fake
Yeah, he saw
when
through
I
that.
sound like that.
Yeah, right. He sounded like
Yeah.
that. Now it's an approach of, for you. in spite of too. Like you took that same approach you gave your son and you took it for yourself. So when those outbursts come or when he becomes triggered, in spite of, I still have to be confident in my God, in God,
Hmm.
to have faith that what I'm doing is helping and not hurting. In
Right.
spite of, right, you have to have
Hmm.
that confidence and that strength that God gives you in those times of his
Hmm.
needs.
And to be honest with you, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I had
Mm-hmm.
to get on his level. And my son was like, Mama, I was like, you know what? He's not responding to me any other way. So I have to match him up with some things and and how I'm speaking. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like he gets it.
He sees you.
And
He
he
hears you.
sees it.
Yep.
He
Yep.
Yep. And the conversation changes and his tone changes. He's like, Mama, but this and that. And it's like he starts to talk to me more about, even though some of it, he says the same things over and over again, and it's like he'll talk, and it seems like for hours, and I'm like, baby, do you even take a breath? Okay, we, drink some water, something, whatever. But I'd rather him just talking to me than having those episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But his brother doesn't understand why I may respond. I was like, you have your way, I have mine. I'm on his level for a certain point in time, and then it's fine, and then he goes back to doing what he's doing. But I really see him trying, and that's the best part. That is so fulfilling to see
That's the
that
hope.
he's trying to be. Yet there's hope, because I'm telling him,
That's the
I'm
hope.
like,
Right.
Baby, you're going through a storm right now, and I've always felt his through his whole life that God had a special calling for him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a child that wanted to say, "Oh, I want to go back to church. I want to get baptized." Do this. I said, God is going to use you to help not only yourself, to help others. And he's like, wait, I can't even get my own brain together. How am I supposed to be helping other people? I was like, well, you know what? You're very cognitive. You're very gifted. You're very talented. You know how to do so many things. There's just this one little section that we need to get together. And he's like, well, you calling me crazy? Do you think I'm crazy? No, never. Never. I would never, ever, ever call you that. I just say we got a little area that needs some fixing, that we need to work with, and we're gonna get through this, and you will get through this. There is
I'm
victory at the end of this.
absolutely, and every time I wake up, I, I see that victory looking back at me as myself because I understand
Mhm,
exactly what he said as he was. How can I help someone when my brain is not functioning the way it's supposed to be? It's not functioning correctly, and I like how you and this is the platform of why we're here is understanding tools and resources and learning how to de-escalate situations and using certain terminology and certain verbiage. Like, no, I'm not saying you're crazy, but there is an area that needs to be corrected. There's an area
mhm,
that needs a little bit more attention. And I agree with you. I believe your son has not victory, but in that victory, his testimony is going to change lives. And
mhm,
as a parent, how have you stayed where you are? And I know it's hard
mhm,
sometimes. I know it can be challenging to, in spite of, I like that. And what I mean by that is, in spite of everything that your son is going through, in spite of all the challenges that has happened, is happening, and will happen, because this is, I know for me, I know that I have to put in the work or I'm going to fall back. I'm a
mhm.
mentally relapse to the point where I'm going to fall back on old behaviors so that I can cope with triggers and trauma and tragedy. So, as a mother, how has how has this impacted you in a way that you have to stay grounded? You can't not afford to lose any of your mental capacity, any of your mental security with all your children, but especially with your son that has these mental health challenges? How does B keep her cognitive strong and her faith strong?
Sometimes I must admit it can be challenging, especially on those nights when I couldn't sleep at all, or like I said, maybe get in an hour or so. But to have my family, the our other family members, as a good support system, it helps me too, because I don't feel I have to do it all, even though I try to do it all. Um, but sometimes I had to learn how to fall back a little, and I'm like, Dad's got this right now. Brother has this. Even sometimes, sisters have this right now. I don't have to be feeling like I have to be at the center and making sure I'm taking care of every single thing, because then it starts to affect me mentally, and then I have to, like I said, I cry
Mm-hmm.
when he doesn't see. I let that release out. I will find a good scripture. I like Psalms 91. That's my thing. And I play it on YouTube, and it repeats over and over again. And I just, even if I'm working on something else, I'll have that playing. Um but prayer gets me through it. And also my mom. I'm 40 something years old, and I'm still gonna go to mom, and
Mm-hmm.
because mom is a praying woman as well, and she helps. And even when we're going through a situation, I immediately call her. Mom, I need you to pray. I need you to call other family members to to pray. The ones that doesn't live here. Call your sister, call whomever. We're gonna start this prayer thing. Call the prayer line. I may not be able to get to the phone to do the prayer line, but I know that I love my child.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of my children, but I have to be cognizant. And I deal with a lot of health issues, and I actually, a lot of times, I put myself on a back burner. I would have doctors say, "You need to make an appointment." I'm like, "I can't. If you can't talk to me over the phone, I can't leave. I can't leave. I have to be here." But knowing that I'm here and I feel like he's safe and he's okay, I may not have to be in the same room as him, but knowing that he's dealing with something in still in a positive manner while he's going through it, that gives me peace. That makes things a little bit easier on me. And he comes down to talk to me a lot. And a lot of times he will just start talking to me like about business ideas. When I say he can come up with stuff and will help, and like, Mama, you need to do this, that, and other. And then he can speak like that. That gives me hope.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, oh my God, these are wonderful ideas. So I know I have to be strong. I have to have that mental clarity, because he can see it. If I'm looking like I'm feeling sad or down, then it stresses him out and it causes him issues. So I know I have to be strong. And after he talks to me, he's like, just to hear that. How you come up with business ideas and plans and this and that while you're going through this? And I'm like, if he can do that, then
Yes.
I can be
Yes.
strong and I can get through things as well. And there's sometimes where I have slipped when I have not prayed. And I'm like, what are you doing, Bianca? Oh, I said my name. Oh well, it's okay.
Okay. The first name is okay. First name is okay.
Oh goodness. Oh, okay. Well,
We're okay. Hey,
okay,
hey, I
good.
did it too. We're okay. First names are okay.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, it's all right. Um, I lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness. Oh, when I forget to pray, I feel that difference in myself. So
Hmm.
I know I have to get back to my prayer life. I sometimes I let life just come at me. And it's like, you know what, you can't forget about God in the middle of everything. And you don't need to just go to him when things are going bad. It's like that's not the way this is supposed to be. You
Right.
know, you go to him, good times, bad times, it doesn't matter because you know he's always there. And the fact that
Absolutely.
I know that he is there, and it's like, you know, he's, you know, God knows. And he knows
Yes.
my heart, and he knows not my intentions, and I'm not forgetting about him because I can't do this without it.
I've shared
So,
I share meetings. I go and be of service to others who struggle with mental health because I do. Not only do I struggle with mental health, I struggle with substance use. So they call that dual diagnosed. Um, I shared the other day about exactly what you shared, what you just said. I have to keep my faith, good, bad, or indifferent. I have to keep my hope. My faith keeps my hope. My hope keeps my faith, which builds my strength. And in turn, I can use my experiences to inspire and help others. So I'm with you. I have to, for me, keep God in everything that I do, because if I don't, I know that the enemy will come and try to tear me down and try to kill me and try to destroy me in all ways that this world has to offer. So I'm with you with that as far as I have to put God in everything that I do. And if and days that I don't, because we're not perfect and but we keep being in pursuit, I could feel a
mhm.
difference in my spirit.
Yes, yes.
So, so we got about 15 minutes. I wanted to ask
Hmm.
you, is what resources that you had to come up with as far as cognitive activities or things for your son to keep him engaged or keep him not necessarily distracted. I don't really like that word, but to keep him engaged. Let's go with that.
Hmm.
Engaged in his triumphs, in his positive outcomes. Like, what have you learned anything doing your own independent research? Have In your independent research, have you connected with anyone or anybody or people that are in the profession of mental health to build a recovery plan for him, something that keeps him going in a positive direction, even in those good times and definitely in those triggering times? Do you have any of those that you would like to share?
To be honest, not really. It's like I speak with his doctor because his
Hmm.
doctor is my doctor and some of the kids. And to be honest with you, she's like family,
Hmm.
I would say, because no matter what I need, she would do it. But because, like I said, of his age, a lot of people won't talk to me. A lot of people won't do anything. It has to be him.
Right.
So I don't have too many resources in a professional manner.
Hmm.
I just come up with whatever pops into my head, and then I try to help him work on, you know, the business goals that he has, and that sometimes is a huge challenge because that depression comes
Right.
in,
Right.
that anxiety kicks in.
Right.
And really, when we did have an outlet, it was always, oh, medication, 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 medication. I mean, I get that. I understand that. But sometimes we can't throw medication all the time and let that be the only thing. And it's like, okay,
Agreed.
that talk for a few minutes, and then we're off the phone. It's like, okay, you need a refill. And oh, when
Yeah.
that first happened, I did not feel good about that. You know, they would talk to me a little bit, um, you know, what I because it did have a signature saying some things can be talked about, but I couldn't make any major decisions on his behalf. But I'm like, I need you. And I know people have a lot of a huge caseload. I get that, and they can't do everything, and especially if the person is not willing to participate. But I need you to hear me if I'm telling you, don't come all strong with, first of all, with medication, 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 because immediately he's going to shut down
Hmm.
and he's not going to respond to you. Even if you feel that medication is help, you got to work your way to that with him. And if I'm telling you this and you just ignore me and you go straight to the things that I'm telling you don't start off with, you're not going to get him to respond to you. So we lost that aspect, that communication. And like I said, because he wasn't willing to do anything, they can't just sit by.
Right.
So right now, all I have is, trying to keep him positive. When that depression kicks in, I try to still uplift him, but I don't try to force him and say, "Hey, you have to do this. You have to do this."
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't want to browbeat him, and because and then sometimes I'll say stuff, and I feel like he's not listening, but he'll tell me, "You know what, Mama? You think I'm not listening to you, but actually I am. It may not look like it." And he said, "But the things that you've done and the things that you've said has helped me a whole lot, and I do appreciate that, even if you don't see it. I do." And I think about it all the time. And he said, "That's why sometimes I'm able to do things, but there's times when I can't do things." And I'm like, I understand it, because there's sometimes when I want to work on something and like
Hmm.
my mind and my body is like, nah,
Right.
not today, maybe not the next day. So I got to give myself that time, and I got to give him that time, but I still try to just at least uplift his spirits without being like I'm forcing him to do
That
something at that moment.
and that's a good that's good, that grace that you give him and yourself as a parent, as a mother. How do you find that balance to press, fall back? Okay, 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 B. Today I need to press. And how do I press? Okay, okay, B. How today I might need to fall back, but what level do I fall back at? Because that has to be a balancing act. That has to be, you have to be aware of what his needs are at that time and in the moment. So how do you do that? How do you balance that press? What level of press I'm going to give them, and what level of fall back am I going to give them at this particular time? Is there any? How do you do that?
I look at him. If I can see um, not only the uh, verbal cues, but his body language. If I see that he's just like not with it, we'll just talk. I don't even bring up anything. But if I see the smile or the running in here and come grab me, give me a hug, and it's like, "Oh, what's on the schedule for today?"
Mm,
And if he'll say nothing, I was like, "Oh, well, maybe if you want to work on something, you're more than welcome to come down here by me. We can work on it together, you know. But that's up to you. Whenever you feel like it, I'm here." And he's like, "Okay, well, you see," he said, I might. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But I have to just look at him and know when it's work time, or even if it's, hey, you want to play a game, you want to
right.
just do something to uplift his spirits. And sometimes he'll come down and do his game and things like that, and you're like, "Okay, well, I'm going back to my room, we'll talk later." But if he's feeling, like I say, if he's feeling down, we just have that conversation, and give a hug, and I'm here for you if you just want to talk. You don't have to worry about working on anything. It's just us talking and just chilling. But he sometimes he goes spends time by his brother, or he'll sit down there by his dad and talk talk with him. So we just let him go to who he feels like he needs at that moment.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, I don't try to press too much, but I do want to see him accomplish his
Mm-hmm.
goals because, like I said, the talent is major, 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 major,
Right.
and
The talent, the intellect, the heart, the person. Yeah.
and I do try to um find people who I know who have been through certain situations, and sometimes he's willing to talk, sometimes he's not. Um, I met this guy on Facebook. Um, he was a uh, NBA player,
Mm-hmm.
but he got hurt, and that injury caused him not to be able to fulfill his basketball career anymore. And he went through a lot. So I finally got, my son to talk with him. Sometimes, like I said, he wanted to be bothered. Sometimes he didn't. But he said, I feel like um, God is telling me I need to come there. One time he didn't get a chance to. Something else came for he does some other work. But it was Thanksgiving
Mm-hmm.
Day. And he was like, I just feel like God is leading me to come there. And he came. And he
How was
sat
that
down and
received?
talked.
Was that
I
received well?
It was. I didn't tell
Okay.
him. I didn't tell him in the beginning because I knew he was going to lock himself up.
Yeah.
But he was
Right.
just coming to, not just to, he was coming to spend time with him too, but he was just coming to talk
Mm-hmm.
with us and, chill, drove. He was supposed to go by his mom, but he came, wait to us, drove 4 hours in the rain to come. And shockingly, my son just came down and he talked with him the whole time. And he was such in awe of the talent that our son had. And he was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to help him to try to get his stuff together. But of course, he can't move when, there's
Right.
some delays on that part of our son getting his stuff out there. But that option is still
There.
open. Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just try to get different people to try to be have some positivity into his life. Sometimes people that's outside of us. And I
Right.
really was hoping that he would do the podcast with you, but he
Oh,
wasn't quite ready yet. So,
it's this is of God's doing. He put this on my
mhm,
heart to do. It's not going anywhere. So, like you said, there's no whenever he is ready. Oh,
mhm,
yeah, I'm excited. And whenever
yeah,
he's ready to share his testimony, his hope, and his faith through his strength and experience, absolutely, we're here. We are
yeah,
here. Yeah.
that's great. I think he would open up and probably feel more comfortable anyway because he knows you. You've been a part of our lives and things like that. So there is that trust thing is there. So it's not like you're a stranger
Right. Right.
to him. So I think
Yeah.
that'll make it easier. But yeah, he just has to get to that point where he can speak about his own story, his
And
challenges, and
and that takes time.
things like
That takes
that.
time. It does.
Right.
But B, listen. This has been. I thank you. This has been great and amazing. And if I would love for you to come up here again in the future, because
Mhm.
again, I know it's hard to get everything out in an hour. Um, but I would hope that you could come back to be a recurring guest if you choose to, and at some point, um,
Oh,
your
I would
son
love
can
to.
too. Oh, thank
I
you,
would
thank you.
definitely love to. And I'm sorry if I sound like I was like all over the
No,
place. It wasn't my intentions, but
no,
I know we have like a short amount of time
right,
and
but
there's
that's fine.
so much that has gone on and it's
Right.
like I've never I've never spoken about this before. So maybe my connections were maybe a little bit off, but I felt like I still kind of gotten the story
You did
out.
well. You did great. You did good.
Thank you.
And that's the point. You can always come back and we can go in depth even further. There's always content. There's always a
Mhm.
testimony. There's always a story. And you did fine. You did great. This is and I thank you for your courage and your strength and your humility to come up here on this platform and share. what you shared, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm very honored. And yes, you're most definitely welcome to come back. We'll coordinate that. We'll get that together. And like I said, I always pray for you and your family because we're family. So um,
Definitely.
I
Oh,
want to thank you again, and I want to tell you that I love you, and we will definitely be in touch uh, and keep that connection going strong.
oh, that
Absolutely.
that sounds great. I really and I truly appreciate that because my mission too is to always be there to help people. And, I do creative things,
Hmm.
um, but my mission too, like right now, is definitely, and like I say, he wants me to help him or just to work right now, work on my thing of mental health stuff. And he's like, he's thinking about it when he can get himself together. So I feel like we will eventually collab on something
Yes.
to help
Abs-
people with mental health. And
Absolutely. Because
so
I'm
that
I'm
I'm
with it.
looking forward to that.
Me too. Because I'm with it. I think this is something that is not talked about much, and people need their stories out there to have hope. Because there are people that still believe there's no hope, that they're hopeless.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, that is
Yeah.
not the case. So we will collab on that, and God's gonna put it together and make something happen that we can't even understand right now. But we will be blessings to people, and we are blessings to people. So
Yes,
um,
you truly are, and 'cause
you
this
too.
takes a lot of courage to share your story and putting it out there for so many people to hear. Because there's a lot of people that feel like they're alone, and like you hear people say, "Oh, people have mental health issues," but there's different levels
It is.
to mental health challenges, or I don't want to. I hate the. I said issues. I do hate that word, but um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's the terminology that is actually used a lot.
Yeah. It is.
So
It
I,
is.
I really I don't mean any harm
Right.
by it at all, but to know that your story can connect with someone. Because some people feel like, oh, I'm alone. Nobody's going through this. Oh, they may have this going on, but they don't know my life. I have all of this, and then when you sit back and you hear somebody, you're like, wow, they're
Wow.
dealing with that too, or they've dealt through that and they've overcome it. And so that gives them hope. And it's like, well, you know what? If it worked for them, it could work for me. And
Let me
so
try
I'm
that.
definitely proud. Yes, 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 definitely. I am very proud of you. Extremely. Always have you. Like I said, to this day, but when we first met you, we still speak about certain things and things that you have said. And oh my God, the joy and the laughter that you brought into our lives. And we're still able to laugh about things.
The
In
same.
2023, I mean,
Right.
just meeting you was a blessing. I mean,
Same.
weirdest
Same.
thing. It's like,
Same here. Same here.
hey, he's
Same
in an
here.
area. Let me hit him up.
Right.
And from that, it's like, okay, he's family.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
so we're definitely proud of you and love everything that you're doing. And I do apologize that at some point I we weren't aware of everything that you were going through, and I wish
It's
that we could have been there
it's
more.
okay. It's okay. It like where your son is you have to get to a point where you're okay with sharing, and I wasn't,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to be a burden at that time to anyone. I was already a burden to my family and peers and associates, and I just didn't want that poison to affect the more people
Mm,
that it did. But yeah, there's no apology needed. I love y'all. We're family, and we're gonna always be family, no matter what.
right,
So, but I,
exactly.
I love you,
Love you too.
and thank you so much again, B, for all that you are doing and all of who you are. And tell the family I love them. And then until next time, um, you come back. This has been a blessing. So thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, and thank you, sweetheart.
Take care.
All right.
All
Okay,
right.
you too. Okay,
Bye.
bye.
So that is our show for today. Um, for me, peace comes understanding, and with understanding comes love, and with love comes hope, and with hope comes faith. That's what we do here at Play the Tape. We, again, are a community of support and advocacy for those with mental health challenges and substance use. I love you. And if ain't no one told you that they love you, we do. I do. Again, I thank you for listening, however you are listening, however you are watching or viewing this. It means a lot. So until next episode, we're going to keep it moving, and peace and love and blessings to you and yours. Take it easy.